各位观众，大家好，欢迎收看邓红说法节目，我是美国那么律师邓红，要么执法守法局李立正。今天是星期天，本来可以休息一下，不过今天日子比较独特，因为在去年7月13号，川普在 Pennsylvania 州的 Butler 这个小镇举办一场集会的时候，他这个遇刺当然这位枪手20岁的小孩子已经被这个特勤局开枪打死了当然今年刚刚过了1周年啊、大家对这个1周年过来了之后大家都有不同样的看法今天你可以看得出华盛顿邮报它里面特别也是很难看到一篇文章，就是他将川普描述这个认为当地的民众将川普变成一个受神保护的一位天使派来的在里边的话，他特别这篇文章里边提到，他说这个小镇里边的话，拍下来这张照片，当时在川普这个演讲现场的话，这两个由这个吊机这个扯起来的大旗刚好卷起来了，而这个形象就像一个天使一样，所以川普虽然中枪，但是只是这个头转了以后躲过了死神，所以这篇文章说巴勒的民众他开始相信川普是有这个受到上帝的保佑所以躲过了这个死神这一关。当然在这个特别的日子，昨天川普也特别针对1周年这个特别的日子，接受了他儿子 Eric 的太太，也是他的师父Laura Trump 的采访。Laura Trump 在 Fox News 的话有一个有个节目，这个节目里边的话就是The View with Laura Trump 待会我也将他的视频这个用 AI 做了一个中文翻译，待会我们一起来看看Laura Trump 跟川普的这次长达30分钟的访谈，里边谈到了他对这个刺杀案件的这个的看法，还有对过去半年来他的工作表现，他对自己的评价，还有将来的走向都有很深度的这个解读当然待会节目完了之后，我想跟大家来一起看一下子当然我们先看一下子这个信魔的案件。Epstein 这个案件所有的媒体这2天都集中在这个川普两个不同样的部门发生了内讧司法部部长 Pam Bondi 他在上个礼拜一公布的时候，他说 Epstein 这个案件呢，他并没有这个所谓的名单以后，并且Epstein 应该是属于自杀当然在报告里边的话，他公布有这个视频里边并没有展示出来这个自杀的照片，只是说在公众场合拍到的视频，在监狱旁边的话看到的话在这个晚上10点钟到第二天的6点钟都没有人经过那个地区当然在12点钟左右的时候有几分钟的视频不见了，当然这个部分大家都在批评班底是不是有问题要掩盖呢？当然这个事情再加上马斯克当时他也是在他的推文里边说这个 Epstein 的 file 的话有川普的这些文件，当然Bongino 他已经这个跟所有的媒体的证实，他是跟Bondi 是发生了很大的争吵这个Bongino 已经表示他可能要辞去FBI 联调局的副局长这个职位，也有可能Kash Patel 也会这个让川普来选择，要么就让他继续担任FBI 的局长，要么就是他辞职，让 Bondi 继续担任司法部部长。在这个当然这几天的话，媒体都在这个想办法来评估，究竟川普会留 Bondi 还是留 Kash Patel， 还有是 Bongino Dan Bongino 这两个人。当然现在这个川普你可以看得出在昨天他的推文里边，在 True Social 里边他大概基本上他这个因为现在对Bondi 反对的声音是来自 Mega 保守派的集团的所以川普他马上的用这个 What's going on with my boys and in some cases girls 怎么回事啊？我的哥们，我的兄弟们这是我的这个当 Mega 的当成自己的 boys and girl， 他说怎么回事了？你们为什么这个针对Bondi 的话那么给他发难呢？他们做了非常杰出的工作，我们都是同一个团队，都是属于 Mega 的我们对目前的这个趋势非常不满。其实我们现在有一个非常完美的政府，大家都在讨论这个，但是有一些很自私的人想办法来破坏它就是这个他们都是利用这个 Epstein 信谋案件来想办法将我们 Mega 团队来打散。他说多年来Epstein 他们重复的这个案件那时候其实奥巴马喜来利这个 Comey Brennan 这些 FBI 的还有 CIA 的这个人士，还有拜登政府的这些人士，他们一直都想让信摸的案件来炒作、来欺骗，就像他们用Russia 通俄门的案件的欺骗世界，还有情报人员的欺骗世界这个地狱的笔记本这些案子来，他们又制造了 Epstein。这个文件他说有一份清单想办法来对付，但是如果是真的有这份清单以后，他为什么他不早上他们完全可以利用选举的阶段来公布，来将我摧毁掉呢其实他们手上就是没有这些东西，但是故意用这个方法来来打击来攻击 Mega 他说这过去那么多年下来，他们都是用这种各种骗局来攻击他说其实我们过去6个月来取得很大的成就，然后这个任何一个政府100年来的成就都没有我们半年所做那么多他说 Cash Patel 也好，或者是联调局，他们现在正在专注调查选民的欺诈、政治腐败 Act Blue 民主党的筹款机器2020年的选举舞弊还有正在逮捕暴徒还有犯罪分子以后，而现在根本没有时间来跟着来调查所谓的 Epstein 这些民主党极左派的一个骗局。他说他一方面他肯定了这个 Cash Patel FBI 领导的这些这个所做的事情，另外一方面他也肯定这个Pam Bondi 他在过去他做的工作非常棒他说2020年的大选是被操纵他们试图在2024年再度这样子做他们现在作为检察长，他们现在要调查的事情非常多，要起诉的案子也非常多。他说1年前我们的国家濒临崩溃，如今成为世界上最火热的国家，我们必须要保持这个趋势这个势头，不要浪费时间，不要浪费精力在 Epstein 新郎的身上。这个人的话所以他基本上他希望的话 Epstein 这个案件不要因为这个事情的话让影响到我们美国国家的这个之中的经历，说他再度肯定了 FBI 在这个选举舞弊方面的调查，还有这个 James Bondi 在推动川普的很多政策、移民政策这方面的努力，所以这个部分你可以看得出，川普也想办法来安抚 Mega 的反对声音所以他甚至称这个 What's going on with my boys 是我的 boy 我的小还有 sometimes girl， 因为 Mega 里边的话，他称自己这些 Mega 的支持者为 my boy my girl我的这个小孩还有女孩子这样子的，你可以看得出川普利用这个推文来想办法安抚 Mega， 希望的话不要这个上了民主党的当，拿 Epstein 这个案子来影响到这个 Bondi 还有 Cash Patel 的工作。当然今天的话这个 Bondi 他还是工作他宣布了撤销了一个也是说在过去3年引起很大争议的这个医生的案件。这名叫做 Kurt Moore， 在犹他州，他是外科医生。在疫情期间3年前的话，他这个所有的医院的话都要求这个打疫苗。Dr. Moore他这个他要求他的医院要求他给病人打疫苗，并且的话他并没有，并且销毁了这个医院所提供的大概有2万多块钱的疫苗。同时很多病人因为要出去旅游旅行的时候，他要出具这个疫苗的证据根据检察官的起诉的话这个莫的话给了假的证据给这个签了字，说这个病人打了疫苗，其实是没有打疫苗的。所以这个案件在拜登政府的时候司法部部长Merrick Garland 有起诉他，以后这打了3年的官司今天Pam Bondi， 谢谢Marjorie Greene 这些保守派的人士还有Mike Lee 也是犹他州的参议员的提议。他说这个案件的话就是一个政治案件，以后医生这个不同意这个病人这个医生已经认为病人没有必要打疫苗，而政府强迫他打疫苗医生为了保护病人的这个安全而冒险的话提供假证明，这个部分的话他认为这个医生胆量是非常可以敬佩的不应该被起诉当然的话这也是可以看得出拜登政府在以前为了推动疫苗的时候，强迫每个医生都要让病人打疫苗，而这个医生的话根据病人的情况拒绝给病人强制性的疫苗，所以的话这个他现在可以说平反了。这个案件的话今天被撤销了。洛杉矶这个法官在礼拜五晚上7点钟终于公布了这个临时禁令。这个临时禁令就是禁止移民局在没有合理怀疑的情况之下随便逮捕人。根据 ACLU 移民团体的提告，他说至少在目前在洛杉矶有2名公民还有3名绿卡人士无缘无故的就是因为他们是讲西班牙文而被移民局当成非法移民逮捕。所以的话这位法官的话这也是拜登总统所提名任命的他说警察移民局在逮捕这个非法移民的过程之中不能够做所谓的 racial profile， 因为别人的肤色、种族、语言而这个随便逮捕，必须要有合理的怀疑这个调查对象是非法移民才能够进行逮捕。同样的这个法官也是针对很多这个被移民局带走的人士没有办法跟律师联络，他说他现在移民局必须要符合政策，必须在逮捕这个不管是非法移民还是不管他们是否是合法或者是非法，他们必须要尽快有权利跟他的律师得到接触所以这个部分的话，他这个在这个有效期是10天临时禁止令当然会不会变成永久性的禁止令现在的话司法部还在想办法这个来争取在禁止法官阻止移民局的执法行动。当然的话这个移民局并没有因为洛杉矶这个法官而影响他们的驱逐行动今天华盛顿邮报报道的话，就是他们获得了独家的这个资料，获取到了移民局内部的备忘录，他们已经发给了各地的移民局。他要求的话，他说如果这些现在关在移民局监狱的人士，他们的出生地的国家不愿意接受他们的话，他现在已经他们准备要大规模的将已经落在移民局手上而他们的出生国家不愿意接受或者是没有办法查证他们身份的情况之下移民局将会将他们送往第3个国家当然这个第3个国家的话，这个决定的话也是因为有8名非法移民包括来自越南、柬埔寨的这些非法移民，因为他们的国家不接受 他们回去，所以的话被送到了非洲的南苏丹国。最高法院裁定的话这个移民局可以这样子做，因为这个裁决现在移民局的备忘录里面呢，他说对所有已经被判罚要驱逐出境的人士根据最高法院的裁决，他们是可以送往第三国家，虽然他们不讲这些语言，也没有任何亲戚，但是呢，送往那边国家的话，他们可以在当地的监狱里边关押，或者是由当地政府来处理他们所以这个部分里边的话，可以看得出，当然这里边包括很多非洲国家在贸易谈判里边的话，也是谈到一个的话，他们愿意接受这些他们这些非法移民当然的话，大批的至少有2万多名已经是经过了移民程序，已经被判罚要驱逐出境的，大概有2万多名这个来自中国的人士这个因为中国政府在过去几年拒绝跟美国政府合作，所以的话这个估计有大批的这个来自中国大陆的人士因为他们已经走完了上诉程序，有可能会面临被驱逐到第三国家的命运了。当然了我们看一下这个今天在 Orange County 里边的话这个也有很多大批的人士来示威来抗议移民局的行动。当然的话，这个示威行动里面的话，他们是反对这个反对移民局的行动。不过来说，为什么反对的话，就是因为这个Disneyland 里边的话出现了原来JD Vance 副总统带着他的小孩子一起到 Disneyland 来玩所以在目前可以看得出，不过目前的话这个 Santa Ana 很多地方已经是这个有很多这个反对移民局行动的这些团体来反对不过目前的话没有太大的冲突。当然今天的话，纽约时报他讲了一篇文章，深度报道为什么川普会咬住哈佛大学。以后这篇文章的话也讲了很多这个内容。当然的话我现在在几天在过去1个月正在研究怎么样子利用这个 AI来解读一些文章，还有正在制作一些这个中文的法律书。很快的话，我会在 Amazon 设立中文书出版一系列的有关于在美国生活的这些书籍，中文书籍。当然的话，这个软体的话使用非常方便。我首先介绍一下子说，哈佛大学在过去被川普政府刁难，其中的话就是因为最重要一个原因就是因为这个在反以色列活动游行示威之中哈佛大学教授这个很多是推动这个并且同情支持哈马斯政府的哈马斯的这个回教的团体并且已经有很多哈佛大学的这个学生犹太裔的学生受到攻击，以这个理由川普的话对哈佛大学发难。当然其中最重要一个原因一个计划的话，除了扣押联邦政府的经费之外还有想办法要吊销哈佛大学招收国际学生的这个资格。所以这个部分很多人都知道川普之所以要打击哈佛大学里边的话不单只是哈佛大学，现在的话这个麻省理工学院、哈佛伯克莱大学、加拿大呢还有夏威夷大学，各种情度之下他们的担心下坡就是所有的其他高校在目前来说他这个最重要一点的话就是哈佛大学招生外国学生，现在1/3的学生是来自海外这些海外学生的话他们来到美国还是给了美国虽然带来很多的财务方面的这个贡献同时的话但是他们也是来到这边之后推动了极左的行动，所谓极左的言论。所以针对这个部分川普已经说要想办法减少哈佛大学 这个招收外国学生的这个人数另外的话他们现在他要确保所有的犹太裔学生人身得到保护同样的这个保守派呢对国际学生的增长，他们是认为这个是不公平的，因为剥夺了很多本地学生的就业上学的机会同样的这些学生里边的话也是在美国从事一些极左的政治活动所以现在你可以看得出说川普的话现在要对哈佛大学就是下手，就是要杀鸡儆猴以后希望的话能够的话减少这个外国学生在美国的人数当然另外一个篇文章在 Politico 的网站里边今天也有做深度的报道其中讲到的话就是因为川普政府已经通过了大而美的预算案，而这个大而美的预算案里边我们可以看得出这个川普总统对参议院是其中一位Tom Tillis 南卡州的州议员反对这个大而美的预算呢非常不满，也准备已经给他施压，没想到 Tillis 这位南卡州的参议员，他表示说这个我们就这样子的话，我就干脆不连任了这种情况之下，现在参议院这个有53名共和党人士，然后 Tom Tillis 南卡州的议员这个不连任了。另外一方面这个在以往的历史，一般如果是白宫是民主党，那很有可能参众两院里边的话就有另外一个对手党掌控，这样子的话能够制衡的。在这次这个川普政府参众两院都是共和党，白宫也是共和党，这种情况之下，也有可能参众两院会按照历史的这个记录来说，有可能会因为这个事情共和党失去要么参议院，要么众议院。而在参议院里面，53名这个国会参议员可以看得出，在投票第一轮在投预算案的时候这个副总统J.D. Vance要投一个关键的一票其中有3名这个是受到很大的这个共和党失去了3票。这种情况之下，会不会在2026年的选举之中，然后共和党失去参议院呢？所以这篇文章讲的话，现在有5个可能性的话，会决定将来这个会不会这个共和党失去参议院的多数席位。第一个就是决定因素是民主党党内能否招募到他们可以赢他们这个的候选人。你可以看得出，从北卡州这现在前州长民主党的这个德高望重的叫 Roy Cooper， 他现在还犹豫现在民主党要想办法拱他出来来竞选这个 Tom Tillis 留下的位置，因为 Tom Tillis 已经表示2026年他不会竞选连任。这种情况之下，如果是民主党的现在民主党正在进行内部的协调，当然的话在北卡州Tom Tillis 如果是不竞选连任，共和党派出的人手会是谁呢？如果是民主党的前州长参选，那赢面非常大，所以的话共和党必须派出一个更有分量重量级的人物。当然的话，除了这个之外，美恩州我们知道这个美恩州的共和党人士Susan Collins他现在这个已经是被川普认为他投发的反对票，并且不合群。这种情况之下，民主党也是想办法要拿下美恩州这个位置这个2个位置的话一个是 Tom Tillis 的位置，还有Susan Collins 这2个位置都是川普不会支持的人选。这种情况之下，川普会不会推出别的人选呢？能不能跟民主党的候选人来赢得他们民主党的挑战呢？所以这2个的话也是至关重要的。第2个问题就是德州一贯看起来的话都是属于这个深蓝的但是现在德州出现了一场恶战因为这个John Cornyn 是一位保守派的这个德州的参议员 而现在挑战他的话是这个德州的检察长，然后这两个人的话这个都是共和党，而现任的这个 John Croom 的话也受到很大的攻击，而现在有意图竞选这个参议员拉他下来的，也是在德州非常有影响力的这个检察长这个 Patent 这个所以的话这个部分的话这个会不会共和党自己自相残杀，而让民主党有机可乘呢？这也是一个问题。第三个问题里边的话，在民主党控制的战场之中，共和党会有没有候选人来拿下呢？来攻击？所以这个部分的话，要看看共和党会推出哪些人来想办法夺回3个州这个参议员的职位。这3个州现在都是属于兰州，这个兰州里边的话是摇摆州，这个包括乔治亚州是摇摆州， Michigan 州摇摆州，还有 New Hampshire 这部分的话是属于一个深蓝州，这里边的话现在是民主党所掌控的，所以共和党要不单只保住3个席位，还要想办法攻下1-2个席位。这3个席位里边的话，这个现在都是民主党所掌控，所以要赢，你要看看这个共和党川普会推出哪些人过来角逐了。那第4个问题的话，除了这个3个州之外这个民主党还会想办法，会不会出现第4个州想办法了这个部分的话就是 North Carolina 州有可能是现在还有蒙恩州这2个州的话现在是属于这个共和党的州最后并且这个议员都是来自这个共和党的这2个州的话，现在民主党也是想办法看看以后有没有机会的话，能够将缅恩州还有这个北卡州这2个州拿下来了。这2个州当然的话，最重要一点的话就是还有第5个议题，就是大而美的法案会不会成为这个民主党攻击这个川普政府还有共和党的一个借口，一个武器，这个很重要从目前看起来的话 Chuck Schumer 还有这些民主党的老大都认为川普大而美的这个计划他们会成为2026年选举的一些重要的这个工具。他们说大而美的经费剥夺了这个中产阶级的医疗健保剥夺了穷人的福利，所以这个部分的话，他们会想办法利用这2个借口来打击这个共和党的候选人。以后同样的但是 Politico 里边讲的话，就是 Mega Bill 川普的大而美法案未必能够是致命的一个子弹。当然的话，在今天的华盛顿邮报里边，它里边也讲述了一个诊所是在 Nebraska， 它现在不得不要关门了。以后诊所说，就是因为川普推动所通过的大而美法案，以后导致我们诊所没办法经营，要关门了但是的话，这边的居民还有病人并不认同。他说这个关门的话，他们管理不善，并不是因为川普的大而美预算案而关门的，因为川普的预算案还没有开始实施了，他们已经关门了。所以这个部分你可以看得出，普通民众还是不太相信大而美的法案是真正会像民主党所说的，会导致上千万人的死亡，还有这个部分的话所以你可以看得出，连左媒也不得不要说这个民主党能否胜利的话，就要看看川普在1年之后大而美的预算呢，究竟是对民众这个是有好有坏就会影响到选举的结果。但是从目前看起来的话，连左媒也不得不承认，大而美的预算案的话这个对大部分的民众来说是好消息，而要减少政府的这些这个在医疗健保方面的开支，这是属于浪费的有很多年轻人这个不应该 这个拿政府的福利，应该鼓励他们去工作。所以从这目前来说，这个也是一个可以说是开始的话，这个川普他在他的跟他的师父daughter-in-law 里边讲的一些一个他们的访谈，我们看看的话，这个访谈节目里边的话，看看是怎么样子，会不会影响到这个将来川普的认同是怎么样子？我们看看哈，看一下有没有办法能够放出声音来的。好，可以放的声音过来的。并且我会将那放大以后用中文字体来给大家看。
Well, Mr. President, what an honor to be here in the White House with you, second time around. And I think when people look at the first 6 months of this administration, you have had more success, I think, than many presidents in history throughout the term of their entire term in office. A lot of people look at what you've done, though, and they say, had you not had 4 years in between, maybe all this success would not be possible. Do you agree with that? As devastating as the 2020 loss was, as bad for the country as the last 4 years were, do you think you'd be as successful as you have been without the 4 years in between?
Well, experience is very important in life. I think talent is more important than experience, but if you can have them both, somehow it's a very good thing. But experience is very important. I think it also helped. It was very bad for the country, but it also helped to have 4 years of horror. What went before me was horror. And by comparison, I think anything looks good. And I don't want to demean what we've done because we've done a lot of records, but what they've done to our country should never be forgiven. Allowing millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. It's such a big aspect of what we're doing now with the borders, and it could have been so easy. When I gave over the country, the border was great. Now it's better than it was, but it was much worse than it was in 2016 when I took it over. That was a border problem also. But I think when people see the horror show that we had for 4 years, an absolute horror show, they tried to kill, it was almost like they tried to kill our country. And the beautiful thing is now we have the hottest country in the world. You know, I was with the King of Saudi Arabia, the leader of Qatar, the leader of UAE, and many other leaders at NATO, separately, a whole group. And every one of them virtually said, you have the hottest country in the world right now. And 6 months ago, they also said, we thought your country was dead. They actually thought it was dead. And it felt dead. We had
那当然的话 ，Laura Trump 是这个川普儿子 Eric 的夫人这个他主持的这个 The View with My View with Laura Trump 的话，他得到了独家。在里边的话，川普提到这个过去4年，他说他非常乐观，他说在2016年的时候，大家还没有感觉到，但是的话，经过4年拜登的政府，大家有了比较，尤其是在边界问题，可以看得出这个我们美国当时所经历的4年是怎么恐怖的。现在呢，大家觉醒起来了，投票了，过来了。现在美国成为一个可以说是最热门的国家，所以这个部分有很大的反差。所以从这部分，川普还是非常乐观。
Not only had no leadership, we had negative leadership. It was a regressive leadership. So I think that probably makes it look good too, but we've done a lot.
Well, you know, throughout the 4 years, while you were not here at this White House, I know that there were some very dark times, some times where people counted you out, thought that you'd never come back, yet you're here right now. So in those moments, what was it that kept you going? Why is it that you are back here in this White House now, despite so many people saying it wasn't possible?
Well, number one, I saw what was happening to the country. They were destroying our country. They were allowing people to come into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, the worst gang members in the world, make our gang members look like, you know, nice people. They were coming in at levels that nobody had ever seen before. No checking, no vetting, no anything. Just come into our country and do whatever you want. And we were letting people coming in from prisons. Prisons were opened in many countries. They talk about Venezuela, but it was far more than Venezuela, all over the world. The Congo, they opened their prisons. They emptied them out into our country. And I saw what was happening, and it didn't take long. I saw that they were going to go. I built hundreds of miles of wall. There were little sections that you had to fill in just to close it in. And I saw that they weren't going to build them. And I even called in. I said, when are you going to just put those little sections? Would have taken 3 weeks. And I said, they want to have open borders. And that's what it was. Open borders, no vetting. To me, that's, inflation, I've already taken care of it. So many of the other things, look at energy, look at fuel, look at this, so many things we've done. But, that's a big job, getting thousands, hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country, murderers, 11,888 murderers. Many of those people have killed more than one person. Think of it. Murderers kill more than one person, more than half of them. And he let them into our country. It's not even, we love this country. It's not even believable. And I guess it wasn't him so much as people surrounding the beautiful Resolute desk. And I know them all, and they're not good. They're smart, but they're not good. They're smart in a different way, but evil intention. And he was the worst president in the history of our country because of them also, but he was the worst president in the history of our country, and nobody's done such damage to our country, and we're fixing it. And I think we're fixing it very fast.
Well, we are at the anniversary of your book.
这部分呢，你也可以看得出，川普对拜登政府他的4年的评价都是最糟糕的，将我们美国带往了一个可以说是灭国的边缘。它里边讲了的边界的开放啊，对美国的社会的冲击的伤害啊。当然，我们再看看Laura Trump 谈到的这个刺杀1周年川普是怎么说的。
The rally where Eric and I, along with Luke and Carolina, watched on live television as so many people across the country and really the world did when there was the assassination attempt on you. And as we come to this moment, I'm thinking back to what happened right after that. You actually called all of us on the phone. And it was amazing to me that that was what you thought to do, that you wanted us to know that you were okay. And I know that's a moment none of us will ever forget. And I'm sure for you, tenfold.
Well, it was unforgettable. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I got whacked. There's no question about that. And fortunately got down quickly. People were screaming, and I got down quickly, fortunately, because I think they shot 8 bullets. And one got me, and one got another one, and one got another one, and one killed Corey, the firefighter, great guy. And, we had a tremendous, massive crowd. Tens of thousands of people were there. And our sniper, within less than 5 seconds, was able to get him from a long distance with one shot. If he didn't do that, you would have had an even worse situation. It was really bad. But he really did his name is David, and he did a fantastic job. It went about his business just about 4 seconds. And that's when it all stopped, and he got him perfectly from a very long distance. So we got a little bit lucky in that regard.
There was so much conversation after that, though. You had members of Congress visiting the site there, people really on top of wanting to get answers to that. But I think we still are wondering, do you know, are we going to get answers? Will the American people get answers as to what ultimately happened there that day?
So they briefed me numerous times, the FBI, the Secret Service, sort of everybody. DOJ, Pamela's doing I think she's doing a fantastic job. But they briefed me, and I'm satisfied with it. They should have had somebody in the building. That was a mistake. They should have had communications with the local police. They weren't tied in. And they should have been tied in. So there were mistakes made. And that shouldn't have happened. And that building was a prime building in terms of what they were trying to do. So, but I was satisfied in terms of the bigger plot, the larger plot. I was satisfied. And, I have great confidence in these people. I know the people. And they're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that. They had a rough day. They didn't.
针对川普他自己有没有这个对7月13号所发生的事情有什么意见？这一部分的话，他现在作为一个总统，他完全有所有的资源来调查的。但是他说从特勤局 FBI 到司法部部长向他的通报，他现在对的结果的话还是比较满意的也可以接受的。那就是这个他们有犯了很严重的错误，就是他们应该派人来，并且的话，警察跟 FBI 这个特勤局应该有沟通这些东西的话，他们有严重的疏忽。他并不相信这 conspiracy 这个 个部分，他说共谋这部分他也没有强势的谈到，他说他们对现在他们所做的调查是满意的，所以可以看得出川普并没有刻意去调查究竟有没有人在指使这个枪手呢，后面有没有后面有更大的团体在里边呢，所以这个部分川普看起来还是这个对现在目前调查的结果还是满意的。
Do a good job. They shouldn't have had anybody in that building. That building was a prime location for somebody that was disturbed, mentally disturbed. And we had, a couple of other events. This is a very dangerous job being president. I say a race car driver, 1% of 1%, think of that, die. It's not a lot. A bull rider, I think that's pretty dangerous. It's like 1/10 of 1% die. And with the president, it's like 5%. Why didn't you tell me this? I could have maybe made a different decision, but I wouldn't have made a different decision because we're doing so well. The country's back. And it's, as I said, everyone's saying we've got the hottest country in the world. And we've done it when the king of Saudi Arabia told me that was 4.5 months. And now it's.
所以川普的话说赛车手有1/1000死亡几率这个斗牛士1/1000没想到呢在美国历史上面的话这个5%100名总统之中有1名的话是死亡的，所以他的几率非常高。他也觉得的话就是说作为总统这个他要冒着生命危险来替国家服务，所以这一点的话你可以看得出他还是视死如归，还是他说所以你可以看得出他并没有说后悔参选。
It's almost 6 months. And when you think I would have said it would have taken longer than that, but we have been very active. Even doing this interview, I feel guilty because I'm supposed to right now be working.
We appreciate it, though.
It's no, we're really busy, and doing a great job. We have other countries wanting to do business with us so badly. They never appreciated it. Now they do. They took advantage of our country on trade, on the military, on NATO. You saw I solved the NATO problem last week, and we had every country is now paying substantially more money, like from 2% to 5%, and they weren't paying the 2, but they're paying the 5, and it's over $1 trillion a year. Think of that, over $1 trillion a year, and it's going to make it something. And we got that done, and we have a big voice in NATO now. We had really not much of a voice. With Biden, you had no voice at all. He didn't know where he was. And so we're doing well. The trade thing is going to be very big, and we're sending out letters as we speak. They literally just started going out, and I signed the letters. And it's basically telling countries that we are going to give you the privilege to shop and work in our country. And I think people are going to respect it. You'll read the letter later, but it's a very similar letter, just different amounts, different numbers, different amounts of tariffs. And I think it's very good. And in some cases, we'll make deals. We'll make a direct deal as opposed to a letter. And we've already made some of them with various countries. But it's a tremendous amount of money to this country. We were taken advantage of on trade, and we were taken advantage of on military. We'd protect a country. We got nothing for protecting. We'd spend billions of dollars to protect countries. I don't want to go into the countries, but pretty obvious which ones. And they're friendly, or some of them aren't that friendly. I mean, some of them, we're protecting countries that don't even like us. The whole thing is crazy, but if they don't like us, we'll let them know very quickly. But it's really incredible. The potential of this country is incredible. It's been run very foolishly. It's been run stupidly, so stupidly. And some of the countries are very upset now because they've been taking advantage of us for 30, 40 years. And I had it stopped. I was stopping in the process, and then we had the COVID in the last part of my administration. But we had the strongest economy in the history of our country. And this is going to be better, I predict. This is going to be better. The money coming in, the tariffs coming in, and hundreds of billions of dollars are coming in. They're pouring in. And I had started that. China paid us a lot of money. No other president got anything from China, not 10 cents. And I got hundreds of billions of dollars. And who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? But we took in a lot of money, but the COVID ended it a little bit sooner. And we did a good job with that. But we helped other countries. We made the ventilators. We became the king of ventilators, right? But we did a good job with it. But it was what it was, a vicious, very hard to guard against disease, plague, whatever you want to call it. And I think we saved a lot of lives.
Well, you talk about all the money coming into the country, how big, the tariffs will be and leveling the playing field.
当然，川普也提到的话，他现在工作的话，这个过去半年里边呢，他所做的努力包括贸易关税这方面，还有很重要一点的话，就是 NATO 还有各方面的这个努力，并且他现在说连连面谈的机会跟他谈话，就是因为 Laura 是他家人然后他就说，我本来今天我还有好多事情要做，因为8月1号之前美国要跟100多个国家达成贸易协定，因为现在我们也知道，贸易协定现在上诉法院暂时不允许2个法院地方一个贸易法庭，还有这个马里兰州的法官的话来这个剥夺川普关税的权利，因为现在如果是川普这些法官说川普没有权利来提关税，要通过国会才能够增加关税，这个部分如果是将川普这个权利拿掉这种情形的话，川普跟外国的政府谈判的贸易谈判就没有这个筹码了，所以这种情况之下川普正在这个快马加鞭，争取在8月1号跟大部分的国家达成贸易协定。你可以看得出这2天川普一下子对墨西哥的要征收35%的关税，到加拿大要征收30%的关税，这些的话他都是透过他写信给外国政府也是希望能够在8月1号之前能够将这个贸易谈判的话能够促成这些贸易的协定当然这些贸易协定的话，川普也是在这个法院的压力情况之下，他必须要尽快的谈下来。
You asked to have the One Big Beautiful Bill on your desk to sign on July 4th. You got it on America's birthday. And I think it was such a huge success for you, for House Republicans, for the House Senate, for the Senate. The question I think a lot of people have is, when will they actually start to see the positive impact from the One Big Beautiful Bill in their lives? The tax cuts, all of the big things that we could see from that.
They're already seeing them, and we are getting investment because of that bill. We're having investment made in this country that nobody's ever believed. We're up to close to $15 trillion. Other administrations, they wouldn't do that in 4 years. $15 trillion, and we did it that was a number from a couple of months ago, and now it's substantially higher than that. We're having car companies come in and build their plants here, which they wouldn't have even thought about. They would have never done it. We have AI, which is the big hot thing, and they're spending trillions of dollars in this country. They wouldn't have done that without what we just did last week. And, I tell Republicans, you have to speak positively about it. Like when I have a chance with you and your show is doing so well, your ratings are so good. What's going on?
Better after this.
Well, you get good ratings, but your ratings were good without this. You're doing fantastically well. And I watch you. I watch Mark Levin. You have some good people. And it's not easy to watch. Very, very much television, must-see television. But congratulations. It's really a great success. So,
川普也对他的师傅也开始赞了，因为捧他的师傅，他做的这个节目现在收视率那么好，当然的话川普也谈到大而美的预算法案已经带来很多的成果了，你可以看得出现在美国对海外征收大规模的关税所以已经有15兆的资金要涌进美国来设立工厂，以后创造就业机会。对川普来说，他说我们这个预算案通过就是为了会迎来美国一个黄金时代
Say to people, Republicans or anybody, explain the bill because it's so big and so good. Because the Democrats, they only do one thing good, and that's complain. And they say it's going to cause death and this and that. They don't mean it's a soundbite. Somebody gave them a soundbite. It's going to cause death. Not going to cause death. It's going to keep people alive, and it's going to make our country successful and really successful. So I always say you have to explain because they have soundbites like Russia was a soundbite. They made up the 51 intelligence agents. They made up it came from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom or bedroom or wherever the hell he wrote it. It did that terrible stuff. But they had, they make up. They make up a soundbite and they send it to the fake news and they send it all over the place. So we have to fight back and we have to live by our wits. And it's unbelievable. It's the most incredible bill, one of the most incredible bills ever passed, and it's the biggest. It's the biggest bill of its kind ever passed, and we have to talk about it. When you think about no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, a big tax cut in addition to that, plus we're saving the tax cut that we made years ago, which is big. It expired in another couple of months, it would have expired. They would have had a 68% tax increase, and now they have a tax cut. And you have to explain that to people because, the public, they're driving a cab, they're working as a lawyer, accountant, or a teacher, or doing any one of a million different things. They're not into it like we are. You have to explain it. So every chance you get, because what they do is they set a phony, they're fake. The Democrats are fake. They're part of the fake news. And the fake news will take it and they'll go with it. Because I have learned so much about the news, about how crooked these newspapers are, like the New York Times is pure crooked. The Washington Post, so many of them. I so admire honest reporting. There's not that much of it, though. We really don't have that much. And I think to make America great again, we have to get a bigger percentage than we have. And nobody understands why. Why would somebody make up stories to make Biden look good when the man was grossly incompetent? What good does it do? I mean, other than lose credibility, they're down at the lowest number for credibility that they've ever had. They're way below Congress, which is very interesting. And I think Congress came a long way recently because we have people like Mike Johnson. He's been incredible. John Thune's been incredible. All of the people under them in, the Senate and the House, I've gotten to know them really well and maybe better than ever because of this. This was almost an impossible thing to get approved because, remember, you didn't have one Democrat vote, even though these are the biggest tax cuts in history, even though all of the things, it's going to bring jobs, it's going to bring everything. We didn't have one Democrat vote because they said don't vote. And the one thing they do well is they stay together. You're reading stories now that a lot of them wanted to vote for it, but they couldn't. They couldn't do it. I read one this morning about a certain Democrat from a certain location in New York who wanted to vote so badly for it. He said, this is going to kill our career if we don't vote. And he really didn't vote because they really do control that. It's pretty incredible. And they stick together. I admire that, the stick-to-itiveness, but at the same time, I would say there's got to be something where when you're doing something good for the country. So we had to get all, because we have the majority by just a little bit, we had to get every single vote. And I guess it was 218 to 2. Think of that, 218 to 2. And that was incredible. That was a House vote. And the Senate vote was, relatively similar. But we didn't get one Democrat vote in the Senate. We didn't get one Democrat vote in the House. And I guess we had 3 votes. You had Rand Paul, right? Terrible. It's so sad. When I watch him and it's so sad because there's never any suggestion about what to do, like, can we do this? They want to go, no. You have a guy named Massey in the House, and we call him Rand Paul Jr. He's just a no vote, automatic no vote. It's not like, gee whiz, fight for something. There's no fight. It was just no vote. I think they think it's good publicity for them. I think they think that. But it was very sad. Susan Collins, as you know, in the Senate voted no. And it's shocking. And so good for their areas.
But you got it done.
We got it done. No.
川普的话谈到的话，就是这次推动大而美的一些感受。当然，他说这个法案里边对大家都好，但是为什么民主党没有一个人的投票？参众两院里边，民主党投票都是一致的。他佩服民主党，他们能够那么团结，但是的话，他们并没有替我们国家做了太多的事情。他也批评了共和党党内的这几位人士，包括 Rand Paul 这参议员Susan Collins 这些参议员还有这个包括在众议院里边也有2名共和党人士投票反对的这个包括Tom Mercy 他说他们就是不愿意配合，他不知道为什么当然的话你可以看得出川普也有可能会在他们连任的时候推出对手，将这几名这个不愿意团结共和党推动共和党理念还有政策的议员换下来。
But when you think that out of all those votes, like in the Senate we couldn't have more than 3 and we got it done, and in the House we couldn't have more than 3. The House was 218 to 2. It's pretty amazing when you think of it. You just don't do that. It's almost impossible, and we got it done. And the reason we got it done because it's so good. And remember this, the Democrats wanted to vote for it, most of them, many of them, because it's all good stuff. I mean, it's all lower taxes and incentives and that, so many good things. Great on energy, stopping the EV mandate, which, hurts Elon, and, it's too bad. But I told him long before he endorsed me, I said, you'll never be with me because I'm going to stop the mandate, because the mandate said everybody has to have an electric car within a few years. And I said, that's not going to happen because not everybody wants an electric car. they want to have a hybrid or they want to have a gasoline-powered car. For whatever reason, they want something else. Electric's like at 7%, and we opened it up to electric, but we ended the EV mandate. You don't have to have an electric car now. But I said, Elon's never going to love this. And I told him before he endorsed me, he gave me this beautiful endorsement. I said, I'm against everybody having an electric car. He said, you know what, as long as I'm on the same footing as everybody else. I thought it was a great statement, but it turned out not to be so because he was very upset about it.
Well,
所以当然呢，他也谈到跟马斯克 Elon Musk 呢之间的关系。他说这个之前的话他在竞选的他一早就很表现的话，他会终止这个强制令，强制民众购买电车所以让民众有更多的选择。当然的话这个他当时马斯克还在支持他，他觉得蛮惊讶，但是没想到真正开始推动了，还要取消这个全面这个要购买电车的强制令，还有政府的补贴马斯克就开始翻脸了。
seem to have a knack for putting people around you who are successful and make you even more successful. I think this has been sort of a trait of yours your entire life. If you go back to the Trump Organization, you gave people opportunities that maybe they would never have taken themselves. And I feel like you've often seen things in people that they don't even see in themselves as well.
Especially women.
You did it for me.
Well,
I would say that for me as well. But
a lot of women.
Your cabinet is comprised of so many incredible people and people that even a year ago, so many would never have imagined, like RFK Jr., who a year ago was running for president as a Democrat. Why do you think you have this ability? And I feel like it has really been to your benefit. Look at this incredible cabinet you've put together. They're all people who are working to make America great again.
They've been incredible, actually. The cabinet's been incredible. And I had a lot of good people in my first term. But again, I came here. I had never done it before. And I'm picking people that I never heard of. And I'm taking recommendations of, people that were sort of stupid people, like a John Bolton. He's a stupid guy. Or Jesper, who was terrible. I mean, he was terrible. But I took some recommendation, but overall I got it right. I mean, we rebuilt our military. We did so many great things. But I now know the people. I know them so well. I know them better than anybody. I spent 4 years with. Sometimes you hit and miss, and sometimes you don't. But we had great people the first time. But we have really good people this time, and they get along with each other. They love each other. They love the country, and it's smoother. I think it's smoother. We did. A lot of people thought my first term was phenomenal. I did. I thought, we got the largest tax cut in history, the biggest tax cut in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history by 4 times. Nobody even came close. We rebuilt our military. They gave some of it away to Afghanistan in one of the most embarrassing moments ever. But, we terminated ISIS. ISIS was 100% gone and terminated. They started making a little bit of a comeback since Biden got in, as you know, but they were gone, and we'll take care of it. But now we're doing things that maybe are on even a different level. Now it's been, especially this last couple of weeks, has been pretty amazing.
所以当然的话 Laura Trump 让川普来比较一下第45任跟第47任这2个任期在45任的时候，川普也肯定他也有一些成功，也有一些失败的，像 John Bolton 这个国家的顾问Esper 这个国防部的部长，这些的话都是失败比。当然的话这个他所学会的很多经验这次47任的话他更会选人了，然后并且他重用了很多人包括了很多都是女性的当然这个 Laura 比较的话，这个川普在经营川普集团的时候，利用商界的这个经验来经营美国国家所以这部分用人非常重要。川普的话肯定47任期间更加顺畅了，因为他知道每个人的背景。
This may be a bit of a self-serving question, but how important has family been to you? And I mean, I'm going to say the last 10 years in all of this.
Well, like your husband is great. I mean, he's great. Whether he was my son or whether he was an executive, you can't hire anybody like him. He's so good, and he runs the business. And Don helps run the business. And Ivanka is doing a lot of things. She's an amazing person. And she's a little bit involved, when they want words of wisdom or whatever. She did a very good job here. All she wanted, she could have had any job. I told her, I'll put you at the UN. She would have blown like somebody like Nikki Haley would have gotten blown away by Ivanka. She could never compete with Ivanka, but she did a good job at the UN, but it wouldn't be the same ball game. And I gave Ivanka choices of things that you might have taken and I might have taken, and all she wanted to do is get people jobs. She said, no, Daddy, I really, and she got hundreds of thousands of jobs for people. She'd go around, worked hard, never got credit for it, but she'd go out and she'd go to Walmart, she'd go to Exxon Mobil, she'd go to all these big companies, and she'd give people jobs by the thousands. So I'd get, just added up to, I could tell you what the number is, but I don't want to say because nobody would believe it. But she worked hard and so competent, and she did a great job. Never, if I were a Democrat, she would have been a legend. You all would have been legends, but I think you're legends anyway. If you think about it, you wouldn't be doing any better. No, it's somehow there's a different mindset, but the kids have been amazing. I have really, really good kids.
Well,
所以当然的话，Laura 就请他评论一下他的家庭的观念。这个川普每一次谈的时候，都是以他自己的小孩子为傲。你可以看得出，他称赞 Laura 的先生 Eric 在企业方面的话，能够非常优秀。他花了很多时间来谈论 Ivanka 他的女儿，Ivanka 他里边也提到当初他本来想让 Ivanka 派驻联合国的代表以后 Nikki Haley 的话后来这个根本没有这个机会。他说如果是 Ivanka 做了联合国的代表的话，那更不得了了。不过 Ivanka 还是在幕后做很多工作，包括想办法的推动美国公司在美国创造就业机会，跟很多能源公司石油公司还有 Walmart 这些公司总裁想办法在美国生产，在美国创造就业机会。他说他是幕后的英雄。其实这个他为了他这几个小孩子这些杰出表现会自豪，引以为傲。
Some people have called you the bodyguard of Western civilization.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that title?
Well, I understand what they mean. It was going bad. We were going bad. This country was going bad. And I don't know that we would have had, when the King of Saudi Arabia talked to me about how we have the hottest, he said, your country was dead. We actually thought it was dead and gone. And they were already starting to talk to China about, getting involved in China, which was unnatural for them. A lot of people were talking to China and others about getting involved because we were a dead country. We were gone. In the minds of many, I tell you, in my mind, one of the reasons I ran, I saw what was happening very early on. When I saw people pouring across our border, I said, no, put up that little, it would have taken three weeks to put up little sections of wall that we laid out because of legal reasons, with condemnation reasons, different things. And because we wanted to bring our equipment back in through the wall, because we built hundreds of miles. And I said, why aren't they filling that in? It would have been complete. In fact, I added a lot more. I built a lot more than I said I was going to build. I made it much longer. But I said, they want to have open borders. That was the first time I realized it. I didn't think it would be possible for anybody to want open borders because, who would want open borders? And open borders where people come in totally unvetted and unchecked, totally just walk right in, walk right through. And some of the people, I know I want to be politically correct, but some of these people, you can look at them and you can say, these people are trouble. This is a rough group of people. And we're right now getting them out. And you know what? ICE and Border Patrol, Tom Holman, Christie has been amazing. Tom has been amazing. Tom was one of my first people that I put in. I said, you got to just do the border. He didn't want to do anything else. He just wanted to, because that's what he wants to do. But you have a big deal with lots of other things there. And I said, who'd be the best to head it up? Homeland Security. And he said, I'd like Kristi Noem. And I said, that's great. Now, I knew her very well, but I didn't know her that way. And she was a great governor, South Dakota. Really did a good job. But boy, she's been great. And every one of I can't think of one who hasn't been at least very good. They've all been terrific, and it's been really good. But I think we get a lot of credit on the border because last month we had 0 people come into our country. We had people come in, but they had to come in legally. They come in through a process. We want people to come in. We need people because we have a booming business climate now, and the farmers need people, and hotels need people, et cetera. But coming in illegally, we had 0. Now, even I'm not sure that I can believe that number. You're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of people came in through Biden. And they say 0. But and the people that do the list tend to be a very liberal group, I will tell you, that have been there a long time. And I said, I'll accept it. But it was close to that number. I'll tell you what, they said 0, and I'm going to take it. But it's hard to believe that it's 0. You're talking about hundreds of miles of border. We've done a great job. And the problem with doing a great job that fast is people forget, Last time I did a great job, we had a border problem, nothing like it was this time. But we had a border problem, and I solved it in about 4 weeks. And I'd make speeches and talk about the border, and my people would say, sir, you shouldn't even waste your time. Nobody wants to hear about the border. Now it's starting to be again. You don't hear about the border anymore. We did numbers that were unbelievable, and I almost can't talk about it because nobody wants to hear it. But it was a big problem. But we do have a different problem. We have to get the people out that came in that are really bad, because we have some bad people that came in.
Just to wrap up here, you're talking about people not remembering. I don't think anyone will ever forget President Donald J. Trump. But when history looks back on this time in our country, when history looks back on you, how would you like to be remembered?
A good person, but a person that saved our country. I really believed our country was going down for the fall. I don't know if it ever could have come back. It was very close to the edge. And I really would like to be known as the man that saved our country.
Well, I think you've started off on the right track there.
So far.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for sitting down with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
那当然的话，这个部分你可以看得出川普在里边提到2个，第一个的话是这个川普他自己这个被大家称为是西方文明的这个保镖。Guardian bodyguard 这个部分川普他也觉得的话，他之所以要站出来从政的话，就看到边界的问题，还有国家的衰退。他以后当然最后一句话，他说他希望的话以后的历史能够记住他成为一个是来拯救美国的一位总统所以这个部分我也希望的话这个我们能够继续的配合川普总统的行动。当然的话很重要一点的话，你可以看得出我们很多民众的话还是认为这个川普所作所为都是为了国家，并不是有自己的一个自己的利益。所以从这半个小时的专访里边，我们可以看得出川普他是作为Laura Trump 的 father-in-law 还是一样Laura Trump 他对这位father-in-law 对他的还是毕恭毕敬称他每一句话都是 Mr. President 这个部分所以你可以看得出这个家教里边呢非常重要。好的，我们看看评论区里边讲的然后这个 MyName 里面讲的，为了Epstein 的案件牵起了这个 Mega 的分裂真是不值得的。所以这点的话，川普在里边他的推文里边也提到，所以我们应该相信川普在这个要时机到的时候会公布真相是以美国优先。所以这个部分的话川普现在正在这个剩下2-3个礼拜要跟100多个国家签署贸易协定，所以对他来说他觉得他的主要的目标是放在那这个怎么样子来谈判贸易谈判。另外一方面你可以看得出这个司法部现在正要打官司捍卫川普要驱逐非法移民的这个政策40多个这个禁制令，现在的话还要面临很多这些透过法律手段来这个清除 DEI 清除很多极左路线的这些措施所以对川普来说这个性魔的案子 Epstein 的案件那不重要。Emily 的说头脑清楚的人都知道川普他现在所做的一切都是为美国好，凡是爱国者都会支持他的。我们看一下贤人所说的，保守派永远改不了的毛病会被一些细节的议题带偏了。2个装了道貌岸然的，我们在2024年支持川普，难道是为了他当选之后公布 Epstein 的名单吗？难道我们不是为了修正民主党的极左路线吗？难道我们不是投票支持让美国再度伟大吗？现在跟着闹看着保守派其实不是一群戏精上身，在这里指点江山，难道要搞到2026年输2院才开心吗？所以这个部分的话也是这个很多民众都觉得的话这种Epstein 的案件不重要，以后就是川普的还有司法部部长都不在乎这些东西不过为什么的话Don Bongino 的话 变成闹成那么大的一个议题呢？并且有很多mega 的人士也不在乎这些所以的话这个部分我相信因为Bongino 他是这个特勤局只是一个很基层的探员而已，后来他是靠媒体这个网红这个起来了，没有真正的领导经验，也没有太多的这些这个可以说是这个人脉关系不过这个所以当时川普提名他担任副FBI 警察局联邦调局的局长的时候，也让很多人跌破眼镜不过如果是在两者选择的话，我还是坚信川普会选择站在这个Bondi 这一边。我们再看一下子这个吴大利是怎么说的 Epstein 已经死了5年了，民主党执政该洗干净的人已经洗干净，我认为没有什么真正的证据，相信川普还有很多大事要做，就像美国人一个惊人的是爱国者不要再交成下去支持川普，就像川普在推文里边讲的，如果是真的是对川普不利的话那这个在4年拜登的政府操纵之下早就公布了以后并且尤其是在2024年的选举之中的话，如果是真的名单上面的话有对川普不利有对保守派不利的情况的话，那我相信这个司法部部长他抄了川普的家，难道不会用这个部分来吗这个4个案件的追杀川普多一个案件的话更容易，并且这个性摸案件的话更有耸动的更可以打击的都没有办法拿出来，就是因为它里边没有这方面的名单当然这部分我们大家都感觉到的话，不能够因为这样的这个事情而影响到川普的政策谢谢 Studio R 里边的说的话这个对川普的支持。好的，谢谢大家今天的参与，祝大家有一个愉快的晚上，我们明天再会。